My brothers and sisters, and welcome to this evening's program. You're listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host, Asif Saba, in the studio. And today we're going to continue our conversation about symbolism within the Quran. Talking about the Quran's symbolic language. And what I mean by symbolic language is that everything isn't always about this material world. There is a spiritual element connected directly to your soul. Before we do get into the conversation, though, we give thanks and praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to come into your homes to bring you messages of hope, happiness, peace, love, and well being, and that we may remind you of the favours that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has bestowed on you. And as you know, this program is dedicated to exploring the spiritual and the symbolic language of the Quran. The Quran that I use is the Alama Abdullah Yusuf Ali version that's been translated from Arabic to English. And if what I quote does not match up exactly with the version of the Quran that you have, it may be that you have got a different edition. And again, the main features of these talks are about what it's like to be a spiritual person living in this physical reality. And we are all spiritual people. And we've come into this world so that we can learn to elevate our consciousnesses, to grow in awareness, so that we can become better people, better than who we were, or we learn to grow not only materially but spiritually as well. Because this world and our time in it is but a very short time compared to the real age of our own soul, because our soul can be thousands of years old. However, we just spend such a short time in this physical reality. And, what we are able to achieve, what we are able to learn, what we are able to do in terms of our spiritual growth and development is absolutely astounding. We are able to grow in ways through the development of our character. And when you read the Quran, you'll see how much of the Quran talks about character building, and it gives you lots of information about how you can become a better version of yourself. And as you learn to become this better version of yourself, it's here that you begin to really grow and excel. And you are able to see within your mind, or let's say within a safe environment, which is your mind, who you are and the truth of who you are. And where in this world we all have a beautiful side to us, we all have this light within us, but we also have this other side to us, which are our irregularities or our harmful thoughts, or those things that lead us astray and cause us to swerve on the pathway. And it is for each of us to recognize these attributes within us that are holding us back, that are causing us to create thoughts that are harmful to our own spiritual progress. And of course, we end up focusing on the wrong things. We end up focusing on this physical reality instead of the spiritual reality. And as we learn to focus on our spiritual reality, we can, or our spiritual self, should I say, we can then learn to ignore the things that are harmful to ourselves and focus on how we can create a better character, how we can grow and develop as a person. And it's in our growth, it's in our development, and it's in our perseverance that we can become much more than what we believe ourselves to be. And so, as we begin to explore the symbolic language of the Quran and how it can help you on your journey, because it will allow you to see underneath the verses and look at a deeper level of understanding. And as we begin to relate the wisdom of the Quran to our own selves, our own inner spiritual journey, and how the verses relate to the growth and development of our soul, this is when we begin to really get to know ourselves on a personal level. And also, it will allow us to establish a much deeper connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and allow us to grow in ways that are going to astound us. And so we are going to look at some verses from the Quran. And for those who, didn't hear my program last week, we did look at a number of verses relating to the symbolic language of the Quran and how the language of the Quran um, it can have a meaning relating to the growth and development of yourself. So let's start off looking at a verse from the Quran. And the first verse I want to start off this week with is let's have a look. I've got a kind of list of different verses here. And, I'm just looking quickly. Um, oh, right. So I'm going to start off with a verse that talks about how God watches how you dwell in your homes. Now, that is an interesting understanding because your home, if you think about it, where is your home? Well, your real home is within yourself. God watches how you are processing information within yourself, how you are, if you are leaning to the light of your soul, or if you are leaning towards the darkness of your soul. So I'm going to give you a couple of verses in relation to this to help you um, think about, its meaning. So the first verse is Surah 17, verse 5. And it says this: When the first of the warnings came to pass, we sent against you our servants given to terrible warfare. They entered your very most, they entered the very innermost parts of your homes, and it was a warning completely fulfilled. Now, when we think about this verse, it talks about how. Um, have you ever thought about when you're feeling depressed, when you're feeling sad, when you're feeling anxious, when when you're really upset with something, and all those harmful thoughts start to manifest within you, and they arise within your mind. Now, this could be termed as like a warfare that is taking place within you. And when you think about how your negative thoughts can bring you down and make you feel depressed because they are manifesting and entering your soul, well, your body is the house of your soul, is another way of looking at it. And so when the Quran talks about how they entered the innermost parts of your home, it's talking about how when you think in negative terms, the energy that you express becomes, you become filled with that negative energy. Just like you know about the idea that when you think of harmful thoughts, you create a dark spot upon your soul. So if you continue to think in negative ways, then eventually you will become filled with those negative thoughts, creating that dark spot within your soul. And so that is the terrible warfare that enters your home, your spiritual self, and kind of leads you astray and causes you to become lost and unable to see beyond those negative thoughts that are arising. And this is like a war that's taking place within you. Now, with the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happens is He allows us to experience the light of our own soul as well. And we do have like a polarity within ourselves. This polarity is the light and the darkness of our soul. And polarity is where you get light at one end and darkness at the other. And as you drop down into your darkness, you become surrounded by the harmful thoughts. When you consciously ascend, you end up dwelling within a more lighter part of your soul, a more lighter version of yourself. And so everything you read should be looked at. And when you start to apply certain things to yourself and examine yourself and look at who you are becoming within, this is when you start to see underneath the many layers of wisdom contained within some of the verses of the Quran. And it can be just one simple word that can change the whole understanding about the wisdom that you will see in the verses of the Quran. And so let me quickly have a look at another verse just to clarify this point or this idea about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watches how you dwell within your home. So it's verse or Surah 33, verse 34, and it says, and recite what is rehearsed to you in your homes of the signs of God and His wisdom. For God understands the finest mysteries and is well acquainted with them. Now, this understanding, again, we're looking at this word homes in the verse of the Quran, Surah 33, verse 34, and recite what is rehearsed to you in your home. Well, you are shown signs and symbols within yourself as well. But I don't want to dwell on that aspect of it. But it's just with it mentioning the word homes, the things that you think about. So let me give you a bit of an example. When you're thinking negative thoughts, you may have certain pictures that come into your mind, certain visualizations that come into your mind, and they're usually about harmful things. When you ascend into the light of your soul and you start to visualize beautiful things within your home, again, this is looking at your physical body just being the temporary home of your soul while it's in this physical world. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will send you beautiful thoughts of wisdom to your inner self. And these are some of the ideas that come from your guardian angels. So let me just read that verse again. It's Surah 33, verse 34. And recite what is rehearsed to you in your homes, within yourself, of the signs of God and his wisdom. So when you are feeling good, when you are feeling happy, you'll know yourself the different kinds of thoughts that you think when you are feeling in that way. And when you drop down into feeling harmful or thinking harmful thoughts and negative emotions, then you'll see there is a difference between the wisdom of Allah coming into yourself and into your mind, and the darkness of the other side coming into your mind. And you will experience it yourself. But the key is to understanding this word homes. It's not necessarily talking about the bricks and mortar that we live in as physical beings. It is talking about your experience within your mind and your body being your home, the home of your spiritual self, the home of your soul for a temporary existence in this physical reality. And so, another verse I want to look at quickly, just to give you an understanding and an idea about this concept of the word homes in the Quran. It's Surah 47, verse 19. And it says this: Know, therefore, that there is no God but God, and ask forgiveness for the fault and for the men and women who believe. For God knows how ye move about and how ye dwell in your homes. And so when you start to think of your body being a home for your soul for a temporary time while you're living in this physical reality, this is where you begin to think. It's not always talking about the external bricks and mortar home. It's talking about how you are dwelling within your own self. The thoughts that you're producing, the mental strategies that you are producing as you live your life. Do you express love, or do you express harmful thoughts all the time? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees how you are living and how you are dwelling within your physical body. And so again, this is symbolic understanding that you can take from when the Quran is talking about a home. It's talking about your physical body being the home of your soul for a temporary time. And this is uncovering like the layers of wisdom within the glorious Quran. And as you begin to see underneath the many layers of wisdom, you will be surprised. And this is why I say, look at the Quran, read the Quran, and think of it as a diary about your life, and see how the verses relate to you as a person. And just think of yourself as a spiritual person living in this physical world, and how you can look within yourself and get to know yourself on a spiritual level, a level that allows you to interpret the wisdom of the Quran to yourself in a way that allows you to see beyond the many layers that we cover, or we create. And as we apply the verses to ourselves, we can then use that wisdom to elevate and hold our consciousnesses in the light of our soul rather than the darkness of our soul. And this is the key to, or part of the key to, understanding the Quran on a more symbolic, in a more symbolic way. The Quran is an amazing book. It's a book that can change your life. It's a book that can elevate your consciousness and help you to grow and ascend consciously. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watches you dwell within your own home, this is when you can really start to understand and think, how can I apply the wisdom of the Quran so that it's going to work for me, so that it brings out the best? And so it is important to try to work on yourself, to read the Quran, because it is filled with so much wisdom. And it's in the little things. Sometimes we'll read the Quran, and as we're going by, we're not paying, if we're not paying attention to those little words and then using them to understand that we are all on this spiritual journey, we miss out on so much wisdom, so much understanding that, if we just slowed down in our reading and really thought about each word, even in the translated versions of the Quran. I mean, I use the Alama Abdullah Yusuf Ali translation that's been translated from Arabic to English because I find that that version sings to my soul. And when I read it, it helps me so much. And it just brings out of me another side that allows me to really see who I am becoming and how I can improve myself and become a better person. Because as you read the Quran, you will know yourselves. It is all about character building and how you can become a better character and how you can, or what you can do to live the best life that you can according to your circumstances. And so allow the Quran to be your guide. Let it elevate your consciousness so that you can grow, so that you can develop. And the key to really understanding is to express love, because then you become filled with love and express love using your feelings of love. Because love creates things like kindness within you, it creates gratitude, it creates so many different things, but all these different things elevate your consciousness and it allows you to grow. And as you know, when you think in harmful ways and you create a dark spot on your soul, well, the opposite occurs when you express love. You create a light spot on your soul. And the more love that you can create towards everybody who you meet in your life and your other fellow beings, then you will become filled with love because it will create that compassion. It will create that kindness. It will create you wanting to give in charity. And all the beautiful 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will become active within you, helping you to grow, helping you to see beyond the life of the world and learn and just grow spiritually. So there is so much in the Quran. And as you know, we did talk last week about things like how you can build your foundation and harvesting the seeds of your soul. So, we are coming up for a quick commercial break. And so after the commercial break, what we'll do is we'll continue talking about the symbolic language of the Quran. And I'll also do a quick dedication to an amazing brother who I met yesterday. So, inshallah, we'll be back after this quick commercial break. Inshallah. So, yeah, just give me a moment because we are on a live broadcast. We are doing a live broadcast, so I do need to just do a few things here. I won't be a moment. Assalamu alaikum to you all. I hope you're all doing well and things are going good. We're doing a live broadcast here at Radio Mac. So at the moment, the commercial break's on. So I can always, I like to turn the sound down in relation to. I just like to turn the sound down a little bit, but I'm here. I'm doing a radio show. You can tune in through the internet. You'd have to go to www.radiomac.co.uk, and it's online as well, all these shows. So, yeah, while the commercial break is on, I'm just kind of taking a little break, but we're talking about all things spiritual relating to the wisdom of the Quran, and we're looking at the symbolic language of the Quran. We've been looking at it for the past 3 weeks, 2 weeks now. So, for those who haven't heard my program before, um, we look at the symbolic language of the Quran and look behind, underneath the wisdom. So anyway, we read out verses, and in fact, I just wanted to have a quick check on something. So I've got my bits of paper here that I use to, read out the verses and then talk about them a little bit. So I do hope you're all doing well. Anyway, I want to do a dedication actually. So I met a nice brother. So let me just look for some stuff here. There you go, that's what I wanted. So I'm going to do a nice nasheed for a brother who I met the other day. So after the commercial break is finished, we'll do that. And then we'll get back into talking about the amazing wisdom of the Quran. I love talking about this kind of specific section, especially the symbolism. Now, just give us a minute. These adverts are coming to an end. Actually, this looks a little bit bright. What I'm going to do, I'll have to make a few changes to the camera, actually. It does look a little bit bright, but hey. Won't be a second. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford. And I'm your host, Asif Saba, live in the studio. And today, before we get back into the topic of the symbolism within the Quran and looking at some more verses, I want to send out a special dedication to a brother called Ifti, who I met a couple of days ago. Very nice person. May Allah bless you and your family and look after you. And, it was nice just having a quick chat with you. And may Allah bless and keep you all safe. Uh, Everybody in your family, doesn't matter who, cousins, relations, you know, and you are doing such an amazing job. He was telling me a little bit about the work he does and how, it's stressful and, he does do a great job. So may Allah bless you, keep you going, and look after you on your journey. And the dedication I want to play for you, and this is going to Ifti, he'll know who he is. It's by Zain Beaker, and it's called The Heart of a Muslim. So, Ifti, if you're listening, this is dedicated just for you. And may Allah bless you, keep you safe, and all your family, friends, and anybody else, inshallah. Well, the nasheed is just coming on in a moment. And may Allah bless you, Ifti. So I'm just doing a bit of a special dedication to a brother I met the other day. And, it's a beautiful dedication because this brother does a lot of work in the community to help other people. So may Allah bless you and keep you all safe. I can't put the volume up on here because I don't understand copyrights and I don't want to break any rules regarding this. So when I'm doing a nasheed and putting on a nasheed, I do like to turn down the volumes so that you know copyright laws aren't broken and everything stays all good and proper. But I can just about hear the nasheed going on. So inshallah, once that nasheed is finished, we will get back into talking about the glorious wisdom of the Quran. And I do hope you're all doing well. And don't forget, drop messages. Don't forget to like and, if you enjoy these talks, become a friend and, you'll know when I go live again and it will help you. It will give you, it'll send you a notification that will allow you to be aware when I'm back online. And don't forget, subscribe and Also, don't forget to check out my books. You can check them out online or you can go to my website. Just have to keep my eye on a few things here. I don't know if I keep moving or the phone keeps moving. Assalamu alaikum, Uzma. I hope you're doing. Is it Uzma? I can't see. The writing is so small, but I hope you're doing well. Anyway, this nasheed is nearly coming to an end. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. That was a beautiful beautiful nasheed by Zain Beaker, and that goes out to Ifti, who does a lot of work in the community, and may Allah bless him, keep him safe, and may you keep working and doing your best, because every little bit counts, and with a lot of people doing a little bit, it all goes into like one big massive chunk of a lot of people doing a little bit, helping out and working for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in so many different ways. And so that beautiful nasheed by Zain Beaker called The Heart of a Muslim, that goes out to Brother Ifti. And so let's continue our conversation regarding the symbolic language of the Quran and how it relates to your own soul and its journey. And so the next verse I want to look at, or let me give you a bit of an understanding about what we're going to talk about next, because um, we just talked about polarity, where it means light at one end, and at the other there's darkness, and then there's also many different degrees or kind of levels, is another way of looking at it, in between the light and the darkness of your soul. And so your station, and the Quran talks about stations, your station is the degree of consciousness in which you are dwelling. And no two people are dwelling within well, I won't say no two people are dwelling within the same degree of consciousness. You know, two different people can be dwelling in different states of conscious awareness. And we're all on the same journey. We're all going back, trying to raise our consciousnesses so that we become filled with the expression of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. And as we fill with love, our consciousnesses ascend and we climb up the ladder of spiritual awareness. And so, as we talk more about the symbolic language of the Quran, I did speak last week, I think it was, about clouds, and how clouds, when you're reading the Quran and you come across the word clouds, don't just look up at the sky and think, oh, clouds in the sky. Yes, Allah created the clouds in the sky and they carry rain and drop it on the land and the land grows. Well, if you think about clouds, now, what is inspiration? Inspiration comes to you. So if you think of inspiration held in the higher heavens above you, and as you reach out consciously, you kind of connect to that inspiration and it downloads into your mind. And you may just think to yourself, huh, that was a good idea. Or, you may think, oh, because you thought about it, because it's coming to your mind, you are the clever one. But you're not realizing that there is inspiration that helps us on our journey, and it's held in the heavens above you. And as you consciously ascend, you tap into that inspiration that's held in the highest of the heavens, and it downloads into your consciousness. So that inspiration that's in the higher heavens, you could see it as clouds of inspiration from the heavens above you. And as you tap into that inspiration and retrieve that divine wisdom, what happens to it? It plants itself in the garden of your soul. So it comes down from the highest of heavens into your soul, and it grows, it begins to grow, and it produces whatever it is that you choose. So the rain from the sky is termed as spiritual energy coming to you. Now, depending on your state of mind, depends on what you decide to create within yourself out of that spiritual energy. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will supply us with what we need. And then it's up to us to make a choice. Do we allow that energy to become an expression of love? Or do we allow that energy to be gobbled up and eaten by the darkness and devoured? And then what do? We project that negative energy out into the world and upon other people who we choose to dislike. And and so that is where we go wrong. If we were to get rid of those harmful thoughts and just allow ourselves to be in the moment with love and express love to each other, this world would be a much better place. But we, for some reason, some people choose to dwell within the darkness of their soul, and they don't understand, what is going on outside there, because they find it a struggle to raise their consciousnesses up into the light. And so allow yourselves to listen to the beautiful rhythms and the sounds within your own self. And some cattle can be harmful thoughts or random irregularities, and they will continually feed on your soul's energy if you allow. Because don't forget, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave you something special. He gave you two things that are very, very special. He gave you free will and He gave you choice. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not interfere with those things, because that's why the verse in the Quran says how um, that each soul must come up struggling for itself, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not change the conditions of a people until they change it themselves with their own souls. So we are the ones that have to make the changes. You can't expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make the changes. And He gives you the wisdom of the Quran and explains all this in the Quran, that we have to make the changes. And so when you're thinking negative thoughts about somebody else, when you're thinking harmful thoughts about somebody else, you're creating that environment. And what we should be doing is learning to see beyond those kinds of thought activity and allowing ourselves to grow in love, and not seeing the differences, but understanding and knowing that love is the key. Those feelings of love help you to complete your journey in a loving way. If you think negative thoughts, then as you go through life, you're just living life according to negative thoughts, and your journey is one of negativity. But if you fill yourself with loving thoughts, then your journey becomes a journey of love. And But there is such a difference in the mental state, the thought activity that is produced between the darkness and the light of your soul. And so let's have a look at a couple of verses from the Quran. And the first couple of verses actually I want to look at this point is Surah 16, verses 10 and 11. We'll look at those two verses and then we'll just have a quick talk about them. And they go like this. So it's Surah 16, verses 10 and 11. It is He who sends down rain from the sky. From it ye drink, and out of it grows the vegetation on which ye feed your cattle. With it he produces for you corn, olives, date palms, grapes, and every kind of fruit. Verily, in this is a sign for those who give thought. So the key to this is it's telling you to think a little bit about this verse. Not just read it, but think about it. What does it really mean? What is the understanding that you get that comes from underneath the wisdom of this verse? And so, what we'll do is the azan is coming up for Maghrib azan, and after the azan, we will continue with this verse, looking at the meaning behind it, and we'll be back, very shortly uh, after the azan. So at the moment, the azan is coming on, and we will continue looking at this after the azan, inshallah. I won't be a moment. Let the day. Hmm. I think I'll have to change that lighting on this camera. I tried a different lighting setting actually, and it's a little bit bright, I think. But I'll sort that out next time anyway. Hmm. I'm just waiting for the azan to finish. The azan is on at the moment. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to actually knock this one off. So I hope you're all doing well. Thank you for dropping in and having a listen. And don't forget to leave a comment, leave a like as well. And, today we've been talking about the Quran and how amazing the Quran is. And I can see a couple of comments here. So may Allah bless those people who commented, and I hope it's all going well for everybody out there. Hmm. Assalamu alaikum to you, everybody who's dropped in and said hello. And I hope you're all doing well. Assalamu alaikum, Isa. I hope you're doing well. Hope things are going good for you. I'm just here at Radio Mac. It's a local community radio station, and I'm talking about the wisdom of the Quran and the symbolic language of the Quran, and how this symbolic language is like a language within a language. Yep, everything is going well. Everything is good. Is that Tariq's son? I can't really see. So, if you're watching, if you're Tariq's son, Isa. Is that you? How are you doing, Isa? It's been a while. So yeah, we're just here at Radio Mac. The Azan is just on at the moment, so I'm just waiting for that to finish before we continue with our conversation. Give my salams to Tariq and Nigat and Adam. Let me just. So we're just having a bit of a break. Um, the adverts have come back on now. So maybe fly around. But once the adverts are finished, we'll talk about um, the wisdom of the Quran. It's nice to see a few little comments there. Hmm. So, yeah, we're just here talking about the wisdom of the Quran and how it can help you on your journey. And we're kind of taking a deep dive into the certain words within the Quran and understanding their symbolic relation to yourself, which, these are my favorite kinds of topics. A lot of the time, I just talk in general about the Quran and how it can benefit you in your life. But today, we're kind of really looking into some amazing wisdom within the verses of the Quran and how it relates to you as an individual. And so, when you come across these words, you can maybe rethink about them and how they do relate to you. And you know yourself what is going on within the depths of your own soul or your struggles or whatever it is you're going through. And then you take that wisdom and relate it to yourself. Hmm. Ah, I'm just kind of looking. There's a voice. It's playing here, and I'm just trying to see where it's coming from. I've never noticed that before. If you can hear it, I don't know if these speakers are picking it up, but I can hear this. I can hear the radio through a speaker, and I've just realised it's coming through the telephone. It's the speaker in the telephone, and I'm thinking, where's this coming from? Because all the volumes have been turned down, but I don't know how to turn the telephone volume down. That's a bit of a strange one, actually. Anyway, we're coming to the end of the adverts, and we'll continue with our conversations. frog in my throat. Anyway, let's get back to it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. You are listening to Radio Mac, broadcasting on 107.1 FM from the heart of Bradford, and I'm your host Asif Saba in the studio. And today we're talking again about the symbolic language of the Quran. And I just before the Azan for Maghrib prayer, I read out a couple of verses from the Quran. So I'm going to read those verses out again for anyone who missed them, and then we'll just have a quick discussion about what they mean and how they relate to yourself. But it will be helpful if you listen to last week's program because there's some reference to some of the things we spoke about last week. So the verses, the surahs I'm looking at is Surah 16, verses 10 and 11. So there's two verses here. It is he who sends down rain from the sky. From it ye drink, and out of it grows the vegetation on which ye feed your cattle. With it he produces for you corn, olives, date palms, grapes, and every kind of fruit. Verily, in this is a sign for those who give thought. So that last little sentence, verily, in this is a sign for those who give thought. It's not a verse you can just read and like you're reading a book. It's telling you to really think about this verse because there's more to it than what you may have originally thought. So, for those who listened to the program last week, we spoke much about how it is he who sends down rain from the sky. Well, we talked about rain being spiritual energy, that spiritual substance that sustains you on your journey. So, without Allah's sustenance sent to your soul, you wouldn't last a moment. So, you are sustained by Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala's sustenance. And so this is the rain that comes down from the sky, like, and that's metaphorically speaking, just like we get rain from the sky or from the clouds. Well, Allah sends down to us to sustain us on our journey spiritual energy, and so you've got to think symbolically, and that's why that the ending of this verse is telling you, verily, in this is a sign for those who give thought. You have to think about this verse. So as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's energy comes to you from the sky, sustaining you, then from it you drink. So from it we get that energy that we need to sustain our soul. And out of it grows the vegetation on which you feed your cattle. Now you just think about it. Your thoughts are like cattle. There are lots of thoughts going on within you. And so the spiritual rain that comes down from the sky, this spiritual energy feeds you, sustains you, and out of you grows vegetation, the energy. So say, for example, if you think in terms of love, then everything contained within the expression of love can be seen as vegetation growing within you. So what does love mean to you? Well, it means so many different things, as we've already discussed in other programs. So this is the vegetation that grows within you. This is your harvest. This is what makes you who you are. And so out of that, you feed yourself. And so this word cattle is an amazing word in the Quran because it can refer to yourself, it can refer to a multitude of people. So we are fed uh, out of the spiritual energy that comes down from the skies. Because don't forget, we are spiritual people living in this physical world. And as we drink this spiritual energy, out of it grows the vegetation we need to survive in this world. And we've got a job. We can either turn that vegetation into something positive, or we can turn it into something that harms our own soul through harmful thoughts. And so, see how amazing the Quran is. It's not just about the external world, but it's actually talking about what is going on within your own soul. And so, as we move on to verse 11 of Surah 16, it says, with it he produces for you corn, olives, date palms, grapes, and every kind of fruit. So again, it's reminding you, when you express love, what happens? Well, within you, when you ask that question, what does love mean to me? The answers to those questions, those are the fruits of your deeds, the fruits that you ripen within yourself. And these are your inner fruits. You know, just like in the everyday world, you plant seeds, you watch them grow, and then you see the fruits of the work you've done in the external world. But what about what is going on within your soul? What do you grow? Do you grow weeds, or do you grow beautiful fruits that help you on your journey? And so this is why the Quran is saying in the next little section, verily, in this is a sign for those who give thought. So it's just saying, think about this verse and understand it from a more spiritual point of view and how it relates to you. Because it's not always about how it relates to the external world. The Quran is a journey about yourself. It is a journey, um, your life is a journey, and the Quran is the guidance you need to become better, a better person. And so that's why it relates to you as a person. So this is why I say, look at the Quran, try to understand it like a diary about your life, and interpret the verses and look at how they relate to you. Because when the Quran's talking about harvests, it's not talking about an external harvest, but the harvest that is taking place within you. And so let's look at the next verse, and it's Surah 32, verse 27. Do they not see that we drive rain to parched soil, bed of herbage, and produce therewith crops, providing food for their cattle and themselves? Have they not the vision? So we've spoken about this last week when we spoke about, it says, and do they not see that we drive rain, the spiritual energy that you receive that sustains you? And this is Allah's sustenance, sustaining you while you're in this physical world. They drive it to parched soil. Now, before you're, as you become aware of true spiritual knowledge, it's like all your focus is based on the material world. But as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drives the wisdom to you, your parched soil at first is bare of herbage, it's bare of any kind of spiritual wisdom or spiritual understanding. But when you start to see and understand that spiritual wisdom, that's when the land that the land within you is bare of herbage. It becomes like it starts to grow. You start to awaken to spiritual truths, and that's when there is a produce or produced within you crops providing food for their cattle and themselves. So, what does that mean? When you think about it, the food is the expression of love. So I keep coming back to love because it is such an important part of helping you to develop. So providing food is the expression of love. The that is the crop that you grow within yourself. Out of that crop comes beautiful thoughts that change the harmful thoughts or the cattle within you. And as you grow and expand, your thoughts change, especially if you grow in love. And then that is good food for your soul. So just think about that verse. I'm going to read it again. But if you think about what I've just said and think about that verse, then you'll start to see. And that's why have they not the vision to see and understand that? And so, what I'll do is I'll leave that with you for a moment and I'll come back to you in a very short time, inshallah. I've got a couple of people here looking for the voucher, but I can't find it in the drawer. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how to do the voucher. Yeah. 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 Okay. I'll just get that. Okay. Well, it's a live program, so things happen. I just had to go and answer the door. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, my brothers and sisters, and welcome back. I just had to quickly go and answer the door. So, the verse we were looking at, it's an amazing verse. We did talk about it last week, about how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala drives rain or spiritual energy to parched soil. So, it goes on to say bed of herbage. So before we start to get into spiritual knowledge and spiritual understandings or any kind of knowledge, it's like we are bare, like a little child who has no thoughts about the life of the world. And then those thoughts start to fill us with understandings and wisdom and knowledge. And so then the child starts to grow. And this is the same for ourselves. We are bare of herbage when we don't have spiritual understandings. And when we start to grow and develop ourselves, this is when we start to develop and grow as spiritual people. And this is us filling with wisdom. And so this is why this verse goes on to say, have they not the vision? You have to really learn to look beyond the words and look at the symbolic language of the Quran to really get underneath the verses and see its many depths and its many layers. And so the word and produce therewith crops, providing food for their cattle and themselves. So the crops are the 99 names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the crops that you grow, and within any of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if you think of one of the names, what does that name mean to you? Or that, what does that word mean to you? And out of that word will come some of the most beautiful thoughts that you can think. And those are the grains that grow out of the crop that you plant within the garden of your own soul. So before you do that, you are bare of herbage. There is nothing there to really give you that true connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, as you build up your knowledge, as you grow in awareness, this is when you start to become greater than you were. And you use that wisdom to feed the harmful thoughts so that they transform into loving thoughts of great beauty. And then those thoughts go on to feed your soul and feed your character so that you grow in a beautiful character. Your character develops into, and you develop into a beautiful person that's not aggressive, that's not going to snap at everybody and turn other people's lives into misery. You are here to express love, to grow and expand your awareness so that you can develop as a person. And so that's why this verse goes on to say, crops providing food for their cattle, for the harmful thoughts, and for yourselves, because as you drink the loving thoughts that arise out of the loving crops, then you grow in beauty yourself. And so, again, the verse ends, have they not the vision to see that, to understand and know that you are an expression of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love. And Allah sends you everything that you need so that you can grow in great beauty, to grow in love. And as you begin to grow and expand in love, you become so much more than you may have previously believed yourself to be, because you have got capabilities within yourself that are so amazing. But is it that you have yet to discover them for yourself? So allow yourself to grow in love. Allow yourself to develop, to become the greatest expression that you can become of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's love, and develop your character. Allow Allah's sustenance to enter into your heart, and allow the crops of love to grow within you that produce grains. And as those grains develop into crops, that becomes your harvest. So, can you see now how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses nature to explain spiritual truths? So, we are coming up to the end of this program, and so inshallah, we'll be back again next week. Now, I may have a guest next week, we'll have to wait and see, but inshallah, Jazakallah from myself, Asif Saba, live in the studio of Radio Mac. May Allah bless and keep you all safe. So we have finished the program, and I'll be back another day, inshallah.